gonna, gonna figure this out. How many here, and you can drop your response in the chat. How many here do a backup every day or every 2 days or every 3 days? Or maybe once a week or once a month? Has anyone here not done any backups? I'm happy to admit that there was a time when I wasn't doing backups. Once a month, okay. All right. Once a month, okay. Nice. So we have two people doing once a month backups. The rest, I'm not sure, but if you feel comfortable enough, you can weekly backups, but doesn't cover everything. Okay. Literally every day. Alex, you're in the data recovery business. You have to do backups every day. All right. It's a good indication. When every day is, I think, a bit extreme for us, but it's also good practice if you have the capacity for it. So why would this matter? I'll try and break it down in real numbers so that it shows how it affects us, okay? Um, I see that was the slide I was supposed to show, which I didn't do. And this is my assumption, and could be wrong about the pricing as well. Google Drive, I think, is not 1,300. It's a little more than that. But even if we use Dropbox, is it Dropbox or one of the solution providers has, no, Google actually. Google upscaled their Google One to 1 terabyte per person for a workplace account since they introduced the AI solutions. And I think that's about 1,200 to 1,300 shillings a month. It's about 15, 16K a year. Not too bad for a terabyte. 5 years down the line, you're looking at about 80,000 and it doesn't stop. But that's if the prices remain constant. So it could even keep going up. Um, but let's also look at this from a different perspective. It's not just about the money. You've been working with a client with a project full time, 2 weeks from deadline, laptop crashes, hard drive crashes, everything's gone, panic sets in. You're calling your client to say, "Hey, I've had some issue. We're going to try and get someone to go and do the recovery for us." It's it's something that I've had to deal with once, and I think I spoke to data recovery experts in Nairobi, and I got some exorbitant amount for a data rescue for 500 gigabytes. It was in the thousands, if I remember at that time. Didn't have a choice, had to get it done, and since then I think I started practicing a split load. So I'd have a drive in Mombasa, I'd have a drive in Nairobi, and as of 2017, I have a running cloud backup. So there's a lot of things that changed for me at certain points in time, and I feel like in Kenya especially, it's relevant because one, internet costs are an issue. Two, KPLC is very unreliable, so you could end up with a spike at any time. Data could get lost. It's an iffy solution at best. So here's what I'm going to try and cover today. Okay. I'm going to try and speak to you about what a cloud is. Like the message says, it's spoiler alert. It's not magic. It is basically someone's computer sitting somewhere in the world with internet access. That's what a cloud system is. I'm going to try and teach you about building your own home cloud. And I'm going to try and look at strategies to make sure you don't lose your work again. And lastly, I'm going to look at the possibility of doing self-hosted setups like I do at home and for some of my friends, where you can essentially have your entire system set up from home and you run a Plex server and you run your audiobook servers and everything else that you want that you're paying for at home. There are caveats to this, of course. Internet connection is the biggest one. So let's first just look at where we are with this. What is a cloud? And it is probably the most important concept that we're talking about today. The cloud, in its simplest way, is someone else's computer. Now, let me also demystify this for you further. I'm currently running a cloud server from my phone. It isn't necessary for us anymore to have everything restricted to just a computer sitting in the house. a phone on 3G, 4G, or a Wi-Fi connection, an older phone like this is a OnePlus T5, a OnePlus 5T, not T5. And it's a fairly old phone now. I bought it in 2017, and at that time it was 2 years old. It's a 2015 phone. It has 4 cores, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and I think a 512 gig storage. It's enough for me to walk around with and do basic storage, basic NAS, basic Wi-Fi setups as a home server that works with me at all times. Now, there are different technologies that allow you to access your equipment from around the world through a virtual network or a secure network. Conversations to be had at a different time, but just helping you understand that this is how this all works. You can even go to the point of saying, I want specific services to show up as a website. So if you register a domain and say that my domain, for example, myhomemovies.co.ke, and connect that to your home server, that could be your hybrid solution for I want to stream movies wherever I go without paying Netflix for this. Okay, I'm not purporting to push for any um, illegalities here. Just trying to explain that this is how the servers are set up and this is how it works. So first, I am going to try and I think I kind of demystified what a cloud is to that degree, but I'm going to try and show you how to build your own home server um, with equipment you probably even have at home or you can buy for 5 to 10,000 shillings. And then we talk about looking at backing up the 3-to-1 rule, which is basically making sure that you have your data not just in one location. And then we'll explore what you can do once you've got your own home server set up. I will now move to the next slide. So we know of existing clouds. We know of Google Drive, Google Photos, Dropbox, iCloud, OneDrive, WeTransfer. These are commercially available consumer clouds that you can use. There are different kinds of cloud solutions for enterprises and for businesses, like AWS or Google's. Google's got their own cloud storage. Azure, Microsoft has Azure, and so on and so forth. There are multitudes of solutions out there depending on what you want to do. I currently have a Dropbox account, I have an iCloud account, I have a OneDrive and a Google Drive account. And mostly because I've had them forever and I use them for multiple things. I've started slowing down now since I bought myself one of these little mini PCs that has enough space for kind of taking over from everything that I'm doing. So I will have about 30 terabytes of space in that little PC once the SSD prices drop. I can then add more data to it and hopefully be in a place where I can use that as my cloud storage wherever I go. It's secure enough and the internet is stable enough at my place and it's backed up with a UPS, so I'm not spending that much money worrying about will it go down, won't it go down? It's all okay. This is my end game for where I want to go with my cloud storage, and I want to make sure that it's not controlled by someone else. Okay, so where did I go with my notes? I'm sorry. Right. So the cloud, again, just to re-clarify, is someone else's computer. That's all it is. Don't get lost in the concept of this one's offering this cloud storage and that one's offering that cloud storage. Someone else's computer, they have all the rights to, no, they don't have the rights to, they have all data in their data center and in their storages. When people talk about cloud, it's like this magical thing floating in the sky. It really isn't. It's probably in a warehouse in Europe or in the US or somewhere else that's just storing all your
Rahim,
data. Yes.
Rahim, sorry to interject. Did you move your slide? You're still on clouds you already use, or is it my?
I think I was at the previous slide, but
Uh,
that's it. That's the previous slide.
Thanks.
And I jumped forward by mistake. Thanks for bringing that. So a server can be anything from an old PC to now I'm saying a phone as well. And it's called a server because in the olden days, we used to have rooms where these things were housed, and that's what they used to do. They used to serve data. Um, When you save something to Google Drive, you're saving it and uploading it to someone else's, which is Google's computer in their data center. When you save it to Dropbox, it's Dropbox's computer. iCloud, Apple's computer. Once you understand this, everything kind of makes sense. So let's go forward again to that slide where I was saying, this is essentially where we are. So how many of you have a Google Drive? How many of you have Dropbox, iCloud, OneDrive? These are things we're using on a daily basis as creatives because it makes our clients' lives easier. I'm not saying stop using them entirely. I mean, for sharing data, it might make sense, but for housing and storing your data, I feel like this is something that we can get used to in a different way. Okay. Meaning that you then end up owning your hardware and your software with respect to your storage, with respect to your files, with respect to your videos, etc. What is the trade-off on this? There are trade-offs. It's not a magic bullet, right? Um, Using someone else's cloud has advantages, actual real advantages. It's easy. It works immediately. You can access it from anywhere. They handle the issues in case a hard drive goes down or there's no backups. They have redundancies and they have automatic backups set inside, right? But um, this is a big but. You're paying monthly fees constantly. We talked about 1,300 per month for 1 TB from Google Drive, but then if you add on Dropbox and you add on WeTransfer, that it builds up there. I'm not saying again, I'm still not saying that we have the ability to remove all these things from the solution, but you can release some of these from your solution pack. So here's what I want you to think about. What if you essentially could be the cloud? That is the aim behind this conversation. That what if you can be the cloud? What if you're hosting everything on your own cloud? That's what I'm looking at explaining to you today, aside from the backup solutions. So here's what I think you do need. A computer that stays on all the time, an external drive. It could be a terabyte, 2 TB, 4 TB, whatever you need, and reliable internet. The third one is iffy, but it's not impossible to do. I know at one point there was a discussion ongoing on one of the tech forums, which used to be called Skunkworks, about getting a data center store for creatives to be able to access, or being able to put your storages in their data center for utilization with their internet. Obviously, this comes at a fee, but you're also in a semi better position because it's your hardware, your internet connection to your data, and you would be utilizing it through their networks. I think at that time it was 1NG, which eventually turned into Zuku. And I don't think that progressed at any point. But it just goes to show that if you are enough, you can actually push for something like this. The computer that I'm talking about, and I think I've mentioned this, does not need to be an expensive computer. This is a Raspberry Pi, and it's a tiny computer like this, which I think a lot of us can look at older phones to work with for smaller capacities. For larger capacities, which you need to plug a USB drive in, I would suggest something that's a mini PC or um, an old laptop. At home, what I've done is I converted one of these. I hope you can see my screen. Yep. Can you see the shopping basket in the item that I've got here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is an older PC that I bought for 100 euros at the time. So about 10,000, 11,000 shillings at that time. This is about 3.5 years ago. And it sits in the corner of my room and it serves up data for me. I have one internal drive here of 10 terabytes, and this works as my internal home network NAS storage, so that my primary backups go on this. My secondary backups then go on a different storage, and my tertiary backups go on the cloud. And I'll talk to you about that cloud storage in a minute as well. So these three components will eventually be able to bring you to a point where you have host and have your own cloud. Now, there is technology involved in all of this, and I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible because there are options for this. there's Nextcloud, which is a Google Cloud alternative. So you have your Office, Microsoft Office apps, and all the collaboration, chat, etc. stuff on it. There is Plex or Jellyfin, which allows you to host and share videos. There's a lot of applications for this. And there's Photo Prism, which is or image, which I use at home. And I'll showcase these in a bit, just to kind of say that these are additional things that can be added on. Now, aside from the do-it-yourself option, we always have additional options like TerraMaster NASs like this, which you can buy off the shelf. And these off-the-shelf options come with a CPU inside with minimum RAM and which allow you to create this home cloud for yourself. If I were to give you an example, I'm going to show you this just now. Right, there's the URL. I think that's the URL. Right, that's not the URL. Okay. Let's try and go here. And so this is TerraMaster's. I have a second NAS sitting in the house, which is my first backup. So the Plex machine this machine that I initially showed you runs my primary day-to-day. So all my work starts over here, I save it here, and anything that needs to remain on an archival system with me goes on to this. Now, this is a web platform, and I can access these files wherever I am in the world. So all of my files that are here are available to me anywhere in the world. They have an app, and I can connect directly to this app and use this from wherever I am. Obviously, all of this depends on the internet. So if my internet connection is slow here in the house, and when I access my data from wherever I am, it slows down. The advantage of having something like this, though, is I can sync all my photos directly to my cloud. And there I have a different solution for myself, which is this. So I'm going to just show and tell here, since we've already started. And .8. Let me share my screen, I guess. Just a second. There we go. So this is my alternative to Google Photos. And as you can see, I have photographs of everything here from my wildlife to anything I need. I can also search by people's faces. So if I look for Nderitu, I think I have him here. Do I have Steve here? Oh, is that under faces? It's probably here. There we go. Should be able to see him if I've named him. There you go. So as an example, Steve attended a party with me in Mombasa. I think I may have some pictures of Monique as well somewhere. But this allows me to then, advance my photo searching is, and I can then search for other things as well. It's got contextual search built in. So if I did search of a building, it should be able to show me all the buildings that I've photographed so far. And like that, it gives me the advantage of finding all these things locally and hosting them locally. And if I want to add more pictures, all I have to do is look for a picture that I want to add and drag it in. So as an example, I could just drag a photograph in and it immediately uploads. This is a local infrastructure. So anything that is on my local system, I can then work with, access, and do whatever I want to with this. I can also administer this as I'd like to. Going to jump back to the other thing. If you have any questions in the meantime, please just fill out the chat. There we go. So like I say, this is now accessible from anywhere in the world. I can add files to it. I can administer from here. I can download. I can share from here. And you have the option of doing whatever you want. Now, this might look like a complicated thing, but it is basically a computer with an external drive plugged in. And all my data backed up here. So if I ever needed to access anything from wherever I am, I could. Are we okay so far? Yeah? Okay. So this is your TOS. There is Plex, which is a web-based streaming solution, and there are additional things that you can do here. We're back to talking about the important thing here, um, which is our backups and building an entire backup system. So let's just talk about something else, which is also critical, which is money, because I want you to see what the actual maths on this would be. Your old computer, 5 to 10,000. I've gone with 6,000 as an estimate. An external hard drive, a simple one, doesn't have to be complicated. 8,000. Your initial setup, if you're using this or an old laptop, is about 14, 15,000, maybe a little higher. I would say nothing less than 20 would be a good option. Electricity per month, I mean, 2 to 500 shillings is a lie. Maybe 1,000 shillings a month. I don't know. Depends on, again on the power draw. And in comparison, you've got your Google Drive of 2 terabytes, which is, I think it's a terabyte, right? Um, if we were to just look at this sorry, didn't mean to do that. If we were to just look at this math over here at 15,000 plus 1,000 per month, that's 12,000 plus your total. So if we did 800 per month times 12, 9,600 plus 16,000, that's 25,600 roundabout. That's your total cost on this. Your yearly costs are going to be 9,600 for your internet and your electricity. I don't know the prices. I won't lie to you. I haven't been home in 5 years, so my prices might not be accurate. But the advantage for this is you can increase the storage whenever you want to. So if you feel that 2 terabytes is not enough, then you can add on a 4 terabyte or a 5 terabyte or a 10 terabyte next year and make sure that you have adequate storage for your personal cloud and home storage as well. These are the advantages that you look at in that regard, and it's a one-time cost as opposed to a repeated cost. The accrued cost per month will be your internet and your electricity. The rest is managed by you, so you're not you're not worried about anything else. You keep this locked in a cabinet somewhere, and it just continues to work in the background. I'm gonna get some water. Give me a minute, please. Apologies. I saw some questions came in, so I'm just gonna look at this quickly, if you don't mind. Um, So local infrastructure for cloud, Alex, so the question was, what about when you have internet downtime when operating local infrastructure? The issue will be for accessing it from externally, but locally, because it's on a local network, unless you segment it and have its own dedicated internet connection, you will not be able to access it. Generally, you would connect it onto a local network, plug it into your switch, and you should still be able to access it locally. But yes, that becomes an operational issue because you can't access this from the outside if the internet is down. Is your local cloud backing up or everything on your laptop, or are you selective about what you send there? I have adequate space, Dowdy. You can choose to back up what you want. I'm backing up everything. Like I have a mirror copy of everything that I have onto my local and on my external clouds. Sorry. Kenyan currency, yes. But again, like I said, my pricing may be skewed and I did not bother. I was lazy and I didn't bother to check on whether this was the accurate size or not. Costs or not, sorry. So there you go. Africa data centers do allow you to host their hardware. Angani also manage the hardware for you with their infrastructure. So they do allow you to host locally, which is an advantage as opposed to here, you cannot do that. What is security measures? Someone steals this or a child damages the machine. You can encrypt your data if you want to. And if someone damages the machine, you take it to Alex for recovery. There's no other option. You just have to make sure it's locked up and safe somewhere. Okay, I'm going to jump to the next slide if there are no questions or if I haven't confused everyone so far. Let's talk about protecting our work because I think this is what everyone wants to understand. There is an industry standard rule, which is 3-1, which sounds complicated, but it isn't. 3 means you should have 3 copies of every important file, not 2, not 1, 3. 2 storage types. Basically, these copies, 2 means these copies should be on 2 different types of storage. So your laptop and an external drive, or laptop and home cloud server, or home cloud server sitting at your parents' house, and an enterprise cloud storage solution. So that if one fails, say, like I know at the moment I'm having an issue because we went and bought these for some of these SSD extreme drives, the new ones for work, and they've just decided to wipe themselves. There's been a major problem, so it is an issue. And because of that, we've made sure that at any given point in time, we have one sleeping copy somewhere, one on an enterprise storage, and one on the cloud at all times until we know and we're sure that everything's backed up to our redundancy setups. In the current infrastructure that we've got in workplaces or in enterprise workplaces, what you would have is a data storage with up to a petabyte, 2 petabytes, 3 petabytes. Petabytes, 1 petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. You would have a local storage plus an LTO tape backup storage, which was suggested on the group. And now the tape backup storages are a lot cheaper. So you can pick up a 19 terabyte tape for about $300. The tape deck costs somewhere around $4,000. So you could actually do that with LTO 9 and have LTO tapes stacked up in the house as your second backup solution. So your cloud storage, local LTO backups, and a third either on your laptop or on a cloud storage. That way you know you have a 3-way system everywhere. And the cloud storage that I keep talking about, or at least any storage that is not in the same location. So if you've got an office and you've got your data all in the office, you need to have one solution needs to be offsite all times. That the point being that if that child, like Steve put in a group chat, that if that child breaks your drive, then your copy at that point needs to be in the office so that if there's a problem, you can go and pick that up, make a second copy of that, put the copy back in the office, and keep working. One copy should always be offsite because of that. Like that's the gold standard. 3-1, 3 copies, 2 types of storage, 1 offsite. This is how we practically work all the time now. And by we, I mean myself, at the office as well, and everyone I suggest this to as well. Right. It sounds like a lot. I know it does, and it does take some setup. But once it's running, it's fairly automatic, and the peace of mind is priceless. So let's talk about backup strategies. The set it and forget it approach, which is basically implement with the 3-1 rule. It's as a creative, let's look at this practically. Copy 1 is your working device. It's your laptop and an external drive, or your desktop and an external drive. I wouldn't suggest it, but maybe your phone, like this for me comes in handy when I'm photographing outside and I need to transfer files really quickly because my card's filling up and I don't have an extra card. It's a Wi-Fi connection to my phone, which is my cloud storage. There are softwares out there which can convert your phone into a NAS, which is what I've done. And that becomes my running backup. Now, this is not just a running backup because the way I've set it up is it automatically transfers files for me from here to the cloud, as long as there's an internet connection. So that's constantly happening. Okay. Um, Copy 2 is your home cloud or an external drive. So you could have an additional external drive, not necessarily a home cloud. Home cloud is a luxury if you feel like in that regard. This should be automatic. So I need to clarify this. There are softwares out there which can do automated syncing for you. So as you get home in the evening, plug in your laptop into the network with the external drive. This software kicks in at midnight and says, okay, hey, it's time to back up. I'm backing up to the external drive that's plugged into the network. Or you plug in that external drive manually, drag the files across, make sure you have a backup running, disconnect the backup drive, and keep it off. Okay. If you don't if you don't have that as a solution, your second backup could be a cloud backup like Backblaze. So I'll just go here. I'll show you what this is. And there is also OpenDrive, which I have been using since 2016. Backblaze is the fancier version. It is more robust, has a newer app. It is built for consumers who are comfortable with, I want to have something that looks fancy, that they market a lot, and they have a lot of features. It's great. They give you unlimited storage for OneDrive. They've got some pricing models. You can take a look at it. What you need to look at is the computer backup, not the B2 cloud storage. B2 cloud storage is essentially an open bucket or an open drive on the cloud, which you don't need right now. So what you need to look at is a computer backup solution, and it gives you these options for pricing. Open Drive is my personal favorite because they don't muck about at all. They give you a 1.5 petabytes to fill up, which you are not going to fill up. The issue with that is the issue with OpenDrive is it's not fast, and it's not fast because it encrypts the data as it's uploading it, so it's securing the data as it pushes it online. But it is cheap. It's a lot cheaper than 12 nines, 84. It's not a lot cheaper, but it's cheaper than Backblaze. And I've been using it without any issues so far. Touch wood. I think Dan Choraji is also using it since I introduced it to him, I think 2019, 2018, around there. So these solutions come with their own synchronization tools, which can stay on your computer and you can set up the schedule for yourself. So if you say that at midnight, I wanted to pick up from this external drive and make my copy, it'll keep running until the copy is done. There are more complicated tools to do this with Linux or even with Windows, where you schedule it once and that's it, and it runs forever. Copy 3 is an offsite backup. Now, there are options here, like I said, get a second external drive, backup manually, lock it in the office. Once in a while, you can keep it. You can wait for a while and back it up, depends on what your backup strategies are, and you can only incrementally back it up every month or so if you like. Option B for your offsite backup is use a cloud storage, small amount of cloud storage like your Google Drive or Dropbox or something, and synchronize to that if you want. Maybe only put your critical data there, like your client portfolios, current projects. It'll keep your costs lower and you don't have to buy expensive storage like a terabyte or 2 terabytes. The key principle for either one of these, my suggestion personally, is use the synchronization tools because it's automated. So Google, Dropbox, they all have their own sync tools. Set them up, set the schedule to go so that you know that midnight or 1 a.m. it's going to pick up and it's just going to back everything up for me. Now, my thoughts on what to back up first. And these are, again, my thoughts based on my experiences, because it can get overwhelming thinking, shit, what do I back up now? Uh, about 4 years ago, we made the decision, my brother and I, talking about his data uh, from megapixels, from what we had accumulated since 2002, that anything past 2000 and everything from 2002 till 2012 would be deleted, except for the exported master high-res files. And if we didn't have exported high-res master files, we were going to re-export everything and just back that up. It saved us, I think, 12 terabytes of data in total. That went directly on our cloud storage, and it doesn't exist on our local storage anymore. So retrieval times are there. We need to download them, and that's it. Nothing more. Um, do you need to back everything up at one go? No. I'll be honest with you. No, I think your highest priority should be what is your current project that you're working on, because that's what you're going to start with. So offload that from your mind and say, okay, this is my priority right now. This is what I'm working on. If you have multiple current projects, which I think a lot of us do, you can then start with backing that up first, because that becomes your highest order of priority. When you're in that space and you've finally backed all this stuff up and you go, okay, I've gotten all this done, then you go down to your portfolio and your older clients and older data and say, okay, I'm going to go with the best work I've done so far, start backing that up, then go with second best, third best, and then lastly, old projects, archives, files that are less frequently used. That stuff can go onto your external drive on the side or your primary backup solution. All this is dependent on how you value and how you rate your storage in your practices. Keep in mind, all of this has got to be done systematically, otherwise you'll overwhelm yourself and you'll get tired, because you'll notice that you've got 5, 6, 12 terabytes of data and none of it's uploading at one go because it's taking time to upload all the data. And then that frustration kicks in. So start, even if it's now with your Google Drive or with your Dropbox or however it is, start prioritizing and go, primary project's going to be on Dropbox. And if you have an office running, then set your office admin to make sure that A, B, C, D is done a specific way so that everything's done systematically. Are we okay so far? You can see another question's come in. Yeah, there you go, Farid. Sorry about that, man. Man, woman, lady, sir, they, them. Not sure what to call anyone these days. As a creative, do you keep the backup of your raw files? So again, for yes, sometimes well, it depends. I think, like I said, anything 2002, between 2002 and 2012, we completely removed all the raw files because it was taking up space, and there's no way we're going back to re-edit those files again. We did, however, consult our clients and say, we're getting rid of this, and some of them opted to buy it off us, so we did sell it to them. And by sell it to them, we essentially charged them for the hard drive shipping and retrieval times more than anything else because they'd already paid for the work. Generally, we don't do that, but some of these were good clients and we wanted to keep it that way. So raw files, it depends on you. Um, I will say, however, that file sizes are growing tremendously. If you're shooting 4K, 6K, 8K video, and if you're going with cameras that are the R5 or R6 or the new A7 V, and Leicas they're 30, 40 megabytes per file. Some are 50 megabytes, 60 megabytes per file. And then if we go into the range of medium format, and you're looking at 100 megapixel files, which are 150 to 200, 150 megapixels, which are 200 to 250 megabytes. So it all stacks up. It depends on how you want to keep it. My personal practice, and the reason I showed you guys the image solution, let's go to it. I hope I remember the password. Oh, shoot. There you go. So I don't want to switch screens again. So what I have done here is everything from as far back as I had with my images, and these go back to a while back, are in my system. And now what I've done is these are also a lot of my all of my raw files are here, so I could visually check for anything that I want to from as far back as I want to. Video files will play back automatically. And I've started slowly going through all of these files, which are from way back, and deleting files that I don't need. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you look at the bottom, I've got 8 terabytes of 10.9 terabytes used. These are archival files that I'm cleaning up now. And I want to be in a place where I have enough space to work with the new files that I'm photographing. So I I say this is entirely up to you. If you decide you want to keep your storage free, then once you're finished with the work, if you feel there's no need to do it, convert them to HEIC formats, I think, or DNG formats. That saves space to a certain degree because it compresses it, but gives you the luxury of having raw file editing capabilities. I'm just going to type that in here. DNG or HEIC. Okay. Steve said he's been a victim of theft twice. Sorry, Steve. Did not have 100% recovery, 80, 90%. Yeah. So this comes in, it's a critical point for you guys, and just keep it in mind as you move forward. Um, right. Next slide, and I can close this. So beyond storage, we've talked about storage, we've talked about backups, but here's where for like, I'm a geek, so for me, it gets exciting because once you have a home server, you can do a lot more. You can host your portfolio or website locally. It's iffy because of the internet and you need the right speeds and everything, but it is possible to do. I host some sites from my house, so it's possible to do. Um, you can replace your WeTransfer with a file sharing application, which there are locally. You can control that. You can do that from here. You can set it up on your home server and get that running. You can have your media server running like Plex, or which I think I can show you if I have it. I don't think I have it right now. It's on the other network. So Plex is, or Jellyfin, where are we here? Is a media system which basically allows you to have your own Netflix at home. It's really, it's really nice. I mean, is there something? Yeah, it's really nice because you can put your movies here, your TV shows, your clients' videos here, and host it and make it part of your portfolio as well, and make it a part of your website if you're hosting locally as well. So there are options here. You can host your own videos here and view them on your television, provided it's in the same network. And it's nice. I've set it up for my house, so anytime I want to watch some of my own stuff, I can just plug in and watch it there. Um, Password managers, I know there's OnePass and Bitwarden. I'm hosting my own Bitwarden server here, so I can access my Bitwarden stuff wherever I want. I showed you how the AI-powered searches work here. It is actually quite nice. I've also started adding geolocations to my photographs, so I can actually click on it and go to the geolocations of the photos that I've got and be able to find what I'm looking for wherever I go. So this was a nice trip to Greece. I was able to get these pictures and I put the geolocations on it. And so like that, these tools work in our favor and it helps us find our stuff a lot faster. And lastly, you have something like Nextcloud, which you can host locally as well if you set up your own home cloud. And it's, I wonder if there's a Nextcloud 5, I think is what it was, where it's essentially a remake of Google applications, but owned and hosted by you. If there's a trial, you can just see it on. I haven't installed one, so I can't share it with you. But I could just install it while we're talking. Maybe once I'm done with my presentation, I'll install it and I'll show it to you. It doesn't take long. Um, I'm not saying that, so I'll just clarify something that I'm not saying do all of this at one go, right? It would be overwhelming to think about doing all of this at one go because you're replacing everything at one go. Um, Start simple. Storage and backups is our priority. This is the fun stuff behind it, that you can do all this extra stuff, but your priority would be storage and backups and maybe something like Image or Photo Prism, where you can then view all your videos and all your photos in a singular location, which brings out that, that concept of where is this file? How do I find this file? You can organize in albums. I've been starting to do here. And like my super panorama is like these gigantic panorama pictures that I used to take, and I still do take, all then fall under a single album. And I can then keep organizing and making sure that I've got everything in a set space and in a set way. Um, the technical skills, apart from everything that you learn along the way, they're valuable. You understand your servers, end up understanding networking. There's different operating systems you can pick from. There are some which are ready to go, which are easy to use, some that look scary but are very simple. And they do all this stuff for you. And it's twofold. It's satisfaction that you've done this yourself, and it's skill learning so that, you've built something up for yourself as well. So you're not just saving money, you're investing in yourself. Makes it sound like I'm selling a course here. Steve, maybe you want to hire me to sell this course. Um, so you're probably thinking at this point, Jesus Christ, this guy's just gone overboard, and how do I get started? So there's 3 simple steps to this. It is week 1, start planning and get yourself into a place where you're you get an external drive, whatever capacity is you want. And again, the pricing might be off because I'm not sure where this is going with respect to what you want to buy. You can do the first step is set up automatic backups from your laptop, from your desktop. If you don't know how to do this, happy to walk you through that. Um, Most operating systems come with a pre-installed backup solution, so we could use that, or get a simple one like Carbon Copy Cloner, which sets up a schedule and does this on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, or when I plug the drive in. Okay. The second is try your home cloud. Now, this sounds more scary than it actually is. Find an old laptop, install Nextcloud. Again, instructions online. YouTube is a great resource for this. If you're lost, I'm available. Happy to help on the group. Point me out and say I'm on the PAK group. Mention it that I need help with this. Happy to spend some time and give you like an overview on this. All right. Try accessing your files from your phone when you set up the Nextcloud. Nextcloud also has a Google Drive alternative, which is NextDrive, I think, file store or something like that. And it's basically the same concept. And over your network, you should be able to use Nextcloud's app and access your files and drop files into it. So that's your first foray into learning how this works as your own cloud. And the third, which is explore and expand. By now, or at least by this point, theoretically, you'd be comfortable with the concept of a home cloud. So pick one service to try, maybe Plex or, Photo Prism or Image, whichever one it is that suits you. Do your research on this and set it up. And, you can also join a lot of communities online. There are some tech communities you can join where you can just ask questions and get help. Subreddits online as well, you can get help from. Um, there are a lot of options for this. Okay. And again, anything you need help with, just yell and I'm happy to help. I think from this, what we can do is move into a session once everyone's gotten from this class, whoever's joined. There seem to be 19 or 20 of you. Whoever's on this, if you want to set up a next session next month where we go into I've got my laptop for my home server. I've got my external drive, and I want to set it up for, for this process now. We can then go into this step by step, and I can guide you on how to set up Docker, how to install your Docker instance, how to set up your Docker applications like Nextcloud or Image or whatever it may be, and make that available to you for your local network first. So if that's something you want to do, we can look at that as well. Timing for me is an issue because I do run a very tight schedule. But if I know early in advance, like I did for this one, I can plan ahead and I can build it into the schedule for you. The most important thing for me is start. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't need the perfect setup. You just need to start backing up your stuff. So get an external drive, and if you need to manually do it, manually do it. But there are like softwares. I'll put them in the BAK group, and I'll let you know what softwares are good and easy and reliable to start with, so you can build yourself up there. Baby steps, 1 week at a time, and you got this. It's not difficult. There's a lot to think about because the 3-2-1 is your most important principle. From there, everything else is golden. I think that about covers my hour of talking. I'm happy to open the floor for any questions that you guys have. I know we have a 2-hour window, so I wanted to get this into a full 1 hour and then give you an hour to ask your questions so we can go over everything, and I'm available. I'm just gonna slide my computer down because I'm tired of standing now.
My goodness, that was quite something, Rahim. Thank you so much for pouring to hearts, the things that we need to learn and things we need to do. Backup is critical, man. And for anyone who has ever lost client work knows very well how important this thing is. So thank you for enlightening us in this space. I would want to allow people to, ask questions. But
Daudi's
before we,
asked a question, if I could just sorry, when you're done, Waniki, and apologies.
no worries, no worries. I think you can shoot from what has already been put on chat.
Okay, so Daudi, you're asking about whether or not I use OpenDrive. So just a second. Yes. So I have this as my primary backup, Daudi, which is my local TerraMaster. And on the TerraMaster, I've got CloudSync running. CloudSync then backs up all of my data onto OpenDrive. So as you can see, it's on constantly. And every time I add data to the storage, it's backing up. Additionally, my local computer and my laptop are all connected to OpenDrive. They have an OpenDrive sync tool. So I'm just going to go from a local share to the sharing my entire screen so you can see it. And apologies, but my screen is a little wide, so you might have an issue with that. So they have their own sync and backup app. And as you can see, I've backed up 11.2 terabytes so far. This then runs day to day. It picks from the documents folder, picks from the pictures folder where I know my most important documents and data are, and it pushes it out. And it's incremental backups, so it's a sync and incrementally just keeps running there. Does that answer your question, Dowdy? Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah.
And with something like Cloud Sync, you could also add Backblaze as an option, AWS, Box, Google Drive, whatever you want. It can just back up to it. So your local is then backing up automatically every day to the cloud. Alex, you have a question?
Hold on. Oh boy.
All right.
So number one, thank you so much, Rahim. I mean, that been such an insightful session. Most definitely my takeaway, and maybe this is a bit informed because of my background in a bit of techie, is the home infrastructure. I've always been a bit pessimistic about it. Just thinking that it could be a bit of a something difficult to do, but based on how you've actually explained it, it's something doable. A question around that would be, while you said you use UPS and maybe where you are probably power outages is not big of an issue, internet maybe it's not a big of a deal in this day and age in most parts, at least, and one can always have a backup internet solution so that you have two providers. But I'm particularly keen on power, electricity outages. UPS are particularly known to run for maybe 15, 20 minutes maximum, right? So if I'm out in the field and I just want to make sure that I have access to my work and there's no outage issue, what would you recommend in terms of, do you have like a DIY kind of a power storage secret that you have? I know we have all these that are being sold and sometimes are a bit expensive, but knowing you for a while, I would imagine, maybe I would assume that you have a DIY that you could suggest to us. Over to
I
you.
do.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
When I was driving around um, in 2014, 2015, 2016, and I think I even forgot it at Steve's office, was my inverter. I had the inverter plugged into the car with the car battery, and that's what I used to use. And then I charged the car battery wherever I got to. So you need a charger for the car battery, and you need an inverter, and that's about it. And the car battery itself, sorry. And that's what I would use when I was traveling wherever I was going. And then when I stayed at a hotel or something, or a lodge, or even when I was camping, I'd leave it to the KWS rangers, leave it to charge, and then pick it up in the morning.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
And
Okay. So
inverters
that
depends on what capacity you go for, but generally inverters cost, or at that time were costing between 7 and 12,000 shillings for what you need for like basic run. Charge batteries, charge a laptop. That's it.
okay. Okay.
But there are
Right. Thank you.
obviously the EcoFlows and all these things that have come out now, right? EcoFlow. Um, yeah, these smart energy solutions. I think I just saw DJI released one as well yesterday. This year, was it this one? Am I mistaken? No, I'm pretty sure they released a battery power pack for creatives. Um, DJI Power, there you go. So even they have their own solutions now, which is about $1,000, and you can get started with that. So for creatives, these are things that are, if you're on the road or if you need something like this, it's basically a UPS, but with AC power, DC power, AC power, I think. I'm not that technical with electricity.
No worries. No worries. But thanks. Thanks for pointing us to this. Appreciate that. Bye.
No worries. Even with a solution like this, you still have monthly fees for different softwares. Yes, you do. Something like OpenDrive, and these are your offsite backups that I'm suggesting. The other stuff like this image is open source. Jellyfin is open source. Nextcloud is open source. You don't have to pay for any of that. So you don't have to worry in that regard. Farid, I'm addressing your question is once you have your local server in place, as long as you're using all these local tools, you don't have to pay extra for it. These are all open source tools. Follow up to Alex. What are the dangers of loss of power? And can you just put the local power on just during backup times? I don't understand the question. The dangers of loss of power is you could lose all your data. Power spikes can blow up your hard drive or your motherboard or laptop. So that is power issues. And can you just put the local power on just during backup times? Yes. I mean, it's entirely up to you. Whatever is safest for you is what you would use for during your backup times. questions. It look like there's too many questions.
He's saying that he has a comment on power. Steve, you can shoot. You can tell us
Yeah.
what comment.
Okay. Thanks, Rahim. Alex, I have been on it because of we have done a number of live streaming. So the UPSs that are sold in computer shops are a joke, like Rahim has said. Like, I mean, they only last like 5-10 minutes. And by the time you're buying a big UPS sold in a computer shop, spending around 15, 20, 25,000, my option is with 15, 20, 25,000. Today, it's possible to buy a battery with like 200 milliampere hours. I think that's a measure. And then get a smart charger for it. You know what they say, if you then put the effort, you can go to a fundi to construct for you a conducive housing for it. There is a smart charger power, which means it's I think it's like actually an inverter charger. And there are some that go for as low as 8, 10, 12,000. So what you do is that you connect the battery, similar to the ile battery agari. And that kind of a battery will give you like 10 times what those UPSs give you. And you don't share it with anything else. It's for, the machine like the one Rahim has shown us he has at home is a computer, but it's got access, hard drives attached to it, a screen, and the UPS, nothing else.
There's no screen. Even on this one, there's no screen.
There is, because it's connected to the network, via the internet. So with like 20,000 or 30,000, you will get a very big battery, a smart inverter that charges either the low maintenance or zero maintenance kind of batteries that we have today. Then you have a smart charger inverter for it. I have a problem with the examples that Rahim has shown, this pre-assembled smart batteries, because they look smart, but with that kind of money that they sell them for, you can do your own DIY that can give you double the amount of the duration and the power that those ones give. You just need to have it connected properly, buy a good charger inverter that has dual roles, which means it will charge your battery if it's low, and it will turn off when it's done, and it also has an inverter on it. Personally, I have that kind. Mine is a little bit more expensive because, like I said, I used to do, when we were doing a lot of studio live streaming, I had a tubular chloride exide battery, which goes for around 40,000. And then the inverter goes for around the same amount, but the capacity is a bit higher. That's on the high price. But with 15, 20, 25, 30,000, you can get something that even if Museveni switches power, you will still be able to run for many hours.
Thank you, Steve, for that. And I'll build up on what Steve has said just very quickly. So, as much as you think about power, by the way, if you think about it, most of our laptops, our routers for internet, that is for Wi-Fi connection, uses what we call a DC voltage. So UPS, what it does a double conversion. So you take your electricity, AC, turn it to DC to charge the batteries. Then the batteries, when they're charged, they'll convert from DC to AC. That's the inverter bit that works. So when you do all that, you have a lot of energy losses on it. So the simplest things that I can even recommend, some of these cheap things that are in Luduri Avenue that are solar powered, and it's almost like a big power bank that has solar powered. Get those, you're sorted. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, if you even power your laptop on a proper V mount, even a router, it will power it very well and you'll be good. And you'll avoid that bit for double conversion that gives you a big loss. So solutions are there for power. And because the beauty about that is you're running DC to DC, so you're not having those losses and you'll be good. I personally go to the field with a V mount, and it charges my laptop, it charges my router. So I'm just thinking if I needed to have one odd of the laptop that I need to power to set up as my cloud, I just need that. I think that either is powered on solar and it just works very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Daudi. That is very insightful. Thank you, Dorito, as well. Definitely something that I'm going to give it a shot in the next couple of months. Thank you.
Happy to have a conversation about anything else that you guys need help on with respect to your backups and data. Is there anything pertinent that anyone had in mind when they signed up that they need help with? No, no.
Rahim, allow me to ask.
Please, yeah.
What we're dealing with the large, extremely large files. When I say extremely large files, is we have come from a photo shoot in the field, and we have 50, 100, 150 GB. What kind of numbers? I'm looking for just numbers to attach in terms of timelines. I don't know how the internet speeds are in Brussels, where you are compared to our 5G, thanks to Safaricom here in Nairobi, or 4G. If you are shooting in Homa Bay or Tharaka-Nithi or Tana River or Peketoni, the most you can get is 4G until you get to a big urban area. What kind of numbers do you work with in relation to capacity? Because we know that if you're downloading 10 GB of photographs, Rahim, it takes longer than 10 GB of video. I don't know if we are on the same page. If you're downloading, could download tu kutoka kwa kadi. Because the photos are more files, the video is one file connected.
Agreed, yeah.
So do you have, out of your huge experience, do you have numbers that play in your mind so that I know, okay, Nico Homa Bay, I was shooting a documentary for NGO, and we have this solution where we just, in the last day, as we're having our drinks, and we throw in this stuff on the cloud using the sync app. Internet speed, file size, timeline. It's gonna do this for the whole night. It's gonna do this for the next 4 hours. It's gonna do this for the next. Do you have any numbers yet, or that's a hard one?
It all depends on two different factors. The first is what is your upload speed, not your download speed. And the second is at your receiving end, what speed are you looking at? So something like I was showing you this, and I said this is maybe not for now, but it could even be for now, is Backblaze has this option, for example, okay, which is your, in fact, why am I even going far? Dropbox or Google Drive. They have their web widget, they have their sync tool, which allows you to then automatically upload files to them. There is no limit on bandwidth with respect to how much data you can send at one go, because there is no limit at their end for receiving files. At our end, when your computer is set up at home to receive files, provided it has a large enough bandwidth. Now, that could be varying depending on what we've got. So if I did a search right now for Safaricom 5G upload and download speeds, right? So Safaricom is 43 megabits per second and upload is 15 megabits per second. So first and foremost, your cap is going to come from this. This is the fastest it'll push a file up. And then it's the fastest it will receive a file is 3 bits per second. Now, let's not get confused by megabits and megabytes, because megabits are 1/8 the size of a megabyte. So if I were to say, how fast will 150 GB transfer at 15 megabits per second? That's roughly 1 megabyte per second. Okay, that's data transfer calculator, fine. File size is 150. Transfer speed is 15, we saw, right? 15.11, let's be specific. This is your transfer speed. 22 hours, 3 minutes, 3,000, 22 hours and 3 minutes is what it will take at this speed to move. So the practicality of doing that locally within the ecosystem, you would need something that moves at 180 megabytes or 10 times that to finish it quicker. The issue is a lot of us pay a lot of value to the download speeds and not the upload speeds. And for moving stuff out into the cloud or into storages or over the internet, what is important is the upload speeds, not the download speeds. So there are devices that allow you to put 4 or 5 SIM cards together and use the combined bandwidth of all of that to push data. But that is the question. That is the answer to your question, that it would take 22 hours to move at Safaricom's fastest upload speed, right? Oh, not even fastest, sorry. "15 hours at the fastest." Does that help? Does it clarify where we are with this? Now, this is assuming that on your receiving end, you have something larger than this. So if you've got your 83 at receiving, you're okay, because that's much higher than what you're sending at.
Rahim, yes. I think it's even good because under different circumstances, you've just shed some light on it, so we're able to calculate, to get estimates.
Yeah.
Because then sometimes you're dealing with clients, sometimes you're dealing with people. You see our low-level WeTransfer shows 23% done, 45% done.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on Google Drive, it will show you 43 of 45, 57 of 100. So we are in a high pressure environment where everything you're doing is every client, every person, every video editor, every photographer, every end user wants now. They want now. Can we get it now? Kuna watu wanangoja harakisha, a lot of pressure. So half of that pressure is handled by managing expectation that if it's going to show 22 hours, please, Rahim, back there in Belgium, 22 hours, give or take. Wait. If it's not showing 3 days.
But you see, that's where, like, if you look at the chat where Daudi had mentioned the Africa data centers who allow you access to hosting your storage there, what you could do is actually host your own cloud storage there. Basically, an external drive plugged into a laptop, make that your cloud storage. So that after a shoot, you get access to the storage. I don't know how it works with them, but if you are allowed to then go in and say that I want to upload some data locally, plug it in, put it onto the external drive, and utilize that for your synchronization because it's connected to a data center. Data centers allow up to, I think, a gigabit or 2 gigabits in bandwidth, which means that your speeds are much faster. Like if you do a gigabit here, and I know why this is doing this because I've locked my storage, but if you do 150 at a gigabit, which is even here, calculate, it's 20 minutes. Like then you can push to WeTransfer, you can push to Dropbox, you can push to wherever you want. the caveat there is you take the local, your cards, transfer them to that cloud storage you've got in the data center, and from there, then you push it out. Because then you're removing that bottleneck you've got off your own side. And by doing that, you're doing two things. One is you're actually manually backing up onto that cloud storage, which is the offsite now at this point. And the second thing you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be able to utilize that for clients or to share with whoever you want across the world very fast. Are we understanding each other on this? Or have I confused you? Steve, are you okay? Then I can go to the next question.
Yes, I am. Thanks. Yes, I am. Thanks.
Okay. To ask the question about are there backup solutions that don't involve the internet? Yes, there are. There are multiple. You could use safes like you're asking. You can put them in safes if you want. There is LTO technology, which is basically tape backups. Now, this might seem weird to you because they're cassettes, but these cassettes are actually very, 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 very incredible. LTO technology are probably the most secure and the safest and longest lasting, as well as largest capacity for backups. I think LTO 9 is where we are right now, and the native capacity uncompressed is 18 terabytes per tape. Each tape costs $300 right now, but it'll drop when LTO 10 launches. If you compress your data, it's 45 terabytes, and you can, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. I tried to mute it, but then I couldn't. Sorry. You can do this, back it up onto LTO tapes. For this, you need a tape deck. You need to understand what this technology needs. So some of them need Ethernet, some of them need FireWire, some of them need USB-C, some of them need Thunderbolt technology. You need to look at which technology is available to you, build into that ecosystem, back up onto tapes, and store your data. That way, you have something that is cold storage, it is archived, and these can go into a safe in a bank. They can go into a safe in your house, wherever you want, and keep them completely secure so that they're not located where your workplace or business is. So if you are ever targeted by thugs, you have all your backups. These can run daily. These can back up daily. Because you're looking at 18 terabytes per tape, you can back a lot of stuff up onto this. So this is your I would say this is probably the best if you're looking at as an organizational structure for backups. And these you can then store in a safe. You can also have large capacity external drives. They are not as expensive as they used to be anymore. So you could actually buy a 22 terabyte drive for I think $300 or $400, 400 euros. There you go. Now prices have gone up right recently because of this whole kerfuffle with OpenAI buying out all the unproduced external drives and unproduced RAM. So that's caused a mass storage deficit in the world and mass RAM deficit in the world. So prices right now are expensive, but even a 20 terabyte at 380 is valuable for your backups if that's what you're looking at. I don't think many of you have more than 20 terabytes of data at the moment. Steve maybe, but that's because he shoots to keep. He's a data hoarder. Is my offsite backup based in Kenya and appearing at KXIP? Then you may find yeah. I mean, if that's the case, maybe you can talk to tech around that, Dowdy, because you would probably have more in terms of infrastructure around this than the rest of us would.
Yeah, let me investigate the actual numbers and then I'll post it on the pack group.
Okay, it's a good idea. Now, I'm just going to say this because I think it's important for you to understand. Once you've got a single backup setup going, like LTO tapes, all your external drives that are sitting in the back that you're not using can be repurposed in a NAS, in any one of these, a NAS storage device. You don't have to buy the newest one. Don't fall for the trap of I must have 10 gigabits or whatever it is. You can look for one of these older 4-bay or 5-bay or 6-bay drives, chassis, buy them, clear your old drives after you've cleaned out all your archives, unplug them from the enclosures, put your disks inside here. So if you have four terabyte drives, you'll have a usable 12 terabytes on your NAS, which you can then plug into the house and just keep running. So you have your local storage, you have your NAS backup going, and you can keep working. Things like that are not difficult to do, and you can just get away with a lot of things. Now, I did promise you that I was going to take a look at this, so let's just see how quickly we can install something like Nextcloud. Let's go to the store here, confirm all, and let's see if there's Nextcloud here. There we go. And so if you want to install something like Nextcloud, in most cases, it's as simple as that. And then from here, I can just open it and start working with it. And I'm happy to show you what it looks like because it's a nice tool to have. And you could essentially offload your office setup. Like if you're running an office like PhotoMagic is, instead of paying for Google Drive or Google Cloud and stuff like that, you could just use it locally. Not impossible to do, fairly easy to manage and fairly easy to use. Like I say, it's not complicated at all. So let's just set it up here. Name, the secure password is password. I'm telling you all because I'm going to delete this after we're done. Rahim and password. Database name is BAK. BAK. Okay, and let's finish setup. Oh dear. Well, I guess I need to read the instructions. Fine. Maybe I overshot how simple it is. But generally, like the install process is what it is. I'll read up and see where we are with this and why. Probably because I haven't installed a database. There's always got to be one failure during a presentation, otherwise it's not a presentation. But as you can see, TerraMaster ships with a lot of additional tools that you can work with. Not everything is necessary, but you can use a lot of this for your own needs. Any other questions? Any comments? Anyone wants to just say hello? That has been waiting to say hello to me for a while.
Let's do coffee as and when you're in the country.
For sure.
Yeah, it would be fantastic to do that.
Always.
And maybe we go to the Mara again. You know, I've become less talkative. I've become less noisy. I'm not the noisy young man that I used to be.
Don't
but
that is to be seen.
To just Evan, I think would be exciting. You know, doing that road trip like we did those years back. It still rings back in my memory, and I guess it will be very interesting to even introduce the new generation of photographers that are with us and learning from you. At least, you know, it will be quite interesting. So, other than when you'd be in the Republic, have that in the back of your mind that maybe you could plan a weekend to the Mara. Thank you, Karim.
Okay, Rahim. I think it's been I hope you have had your time to share all that you wanted to share with us, unless I get that wrong, so that we can give Alex I think he's already suggesting that he needs his 5 minutes, and that is a lie, because Alex can never have 5 minutes. But we will try to give him 5 minutes so that he can talk about his his next session. But I just want to confirm that, Rahim, if you have any final closing remarks, and then you can hand over to Alex.
It's less of a remark, more of a show and tell here. If you remember,
Wow. This is Savo.
Sesavo. This is the one Alex
The day
did. Come on.
when the hyenas came to the ladies' tent.
That's the one.
And Mashari got some nice shot of the leopard. Wow, la, 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 la.
Are the hyenas on this call?
Not those kinds of hyenas, but
Oh, some of you will never be forgiven.
no,
That
you
is so
shall not.
nice. That is so nice. We went to the Kina Shetani lava flows and springs.
It was a good trip.
Yeah, we need to get back to this, like Alex has said. Like,
For sure.
and I'm sure our chairman here is hearing Daudi. So, Rahim, this is such a
Thank you all. Like I
nice
said,
soft
I'm
mic.
available on the chat. If you guys need to speak, just yell on the WhatsApp group, and I'm happy to help.
Okay, so guys, just before we wrap up, Alex, please have your 300 seconds, 5 minutes. Briefly introduce what you're going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time when we do your webinar on data recovery and the context surrounding that. Alex.
All right. Okay, thank you, Nderito. I'm actually going to shock you. I'm going to take a shorter period than that. Again, Rahim, thank you so much. I don't think there could have been a better commencement of the conversation around data than talking about data, backup. So I think that's all where it starts. Backup, because it's never a guarantee that your data will be safe. Besides being stolen, but also the data loss that could come about for many reasons. And so, like Nderito has mentioned, I've been involved in a bit of the data recovery. I've assisted a couple of you who have reached out in the recent past. To some, I've been able to successfully recover a great percentage of your work. To some, it has not been successful. I think one of the key pointers here is that I need to mention that even when we would be talking about data recovery, it's never a guarantee, and that is as a result of so many factors. So we will sometimes do the diagnosis work, and we'll be able to tell you from the onset, yes, it is doable or not doable. And so regarding the upcoming training or webinar, like Nderito has said, and I'm so excited that we are getting back to to this trend where we can be able, to share what we all know, because we are coming from different fields. Maybe besides being photographers, there's something that I don't know. And so when we can come back together as PAC and we share knowledge amongst ourselves, then we empower us, we empower PAC to become a better body. I bet for our start, I will cover 4 key areas during the training, or rather the webinars, Nderito is calling it, and I prefer going by that name. And it is going to be non-technical for non-technical individuals. So don't be fearful that maybe it will be too much of a jargon, whatnot, and all that. It will be very simple language on the do's and the don'ts. Some of the key areas that we will look at is how to mitigate against data loss. Then the number 2 will be, what do you do? What I call the oh no moment, right? What do you do if it happens that you have lost your data? All right. So number 1 is the mitigation, and which has been extensively covered by Rahim, but I will maybe hopefully bring in another angle to how we can mitigate against data loss. And then what do we do eventually when shit has hit the fan, and you've lost your data? What do you do immediately, and what are you not supposed to do? Because I think some of the major cases I'm dealing with are the oh no moment, where people get into a shock, the stress, a client is calling you, you have lost, and so you embark on doing some crazy stuff, with all the right intent, where you're looking at how do I recover this data. You're probably fearful that you lose the client, you will maybe be sued. David Mashare, if he was there, and I know I'm speaking with his permission, he will tell you of a case where he lost his work, and yes, he was sued by the client, and it was quite an expensive affair. But again, how do we hold our composure and make sure that we do the right thing? So that is point number 2. Then the danger, and this I've experienced, a lot, the danger of using some of these free or cheap softwares that are available online, where we quickly buy them and we try to recover data with them. And they keep you waiting for quite a while, maybe a day or 2 or 3. But in actual sense, what most of them end up doing is either to damage your work, your footage, and even worsen the possibility of recovering the data. So we are going to cover that, and I will be ideally discouraging you from using those softwares. One of the things you'll discover is most of those companies that actually luring you to buy, to buying some of those softwares, they are not into data recovery. They have a bigger business idea. There's something that they are selling, but this becomes the bait for which they will catch you with. So you have an SD card that you lost data, and you're like, wait, it's $5, it's $10, $20, maybe something that will not even cost a whole lot, but eventually you end up compromising the chances of your data being recovered. So that's one of the the third item that will recover. We will cover rather. And the last most important is the raw advantage. Why do we need to shoot raw? All right. Why do we need to shoot raw? And what is the advantage of when we shoot raw? And unfortunately, you've ended up losing your footage. What is the likelihood that you'll be able to recover your work better than when you have not shot raw? I have had multiple cases where I have successfully been able to recover quite a considerable good percentage of work that was shot raw than in cases where work was shot in a raw format. So those are the 4 key areas. I would encourage you in the 2 weeks, like Derito said, please avail yourself. It's let's empower ourselves with knowledge and skill, and more importantly, be able to mitigate against some of these unfortunate cases that could come up. And even when they happen, what do we do quickly to help us still maintain a good name? Because again, remember, it's all about the reputation that we create. If you can be open with your client and tell them, yes, I'm going to take a little bit longer. I seem to have lost the work, but I have got a fallback mechanism on how I'm going to recover the work. You can bet that client is most likely to come back to you over and over again. So those are the 4 key areas. Looking forward to interacting with you when the time comes. I believe through our chair and Steve, they will communicate to us as and when, and I'll be more than happy to share what I somewhat know, but more importantly, also get to learn from each and every one of you. Iron sharpens iron. So looking forward. Over to you, Derito.
Asante sana, Alex Gabi. I think we are done here. Most likely the 2 weeks from now, Monday or Tuesday, is when we are going to have that a tentative date. Rahim, asante sana. Those who attended, I can see 17 of you are still online. Asante sana. This is just a small beginning to how this year has been planned for by PAK, and all of us working as a team, as a community of photographers, or do I call us multimedia professionals. Rahim, we are going to put together this recording and edit it properly with your permission so that we can share it with it. Sisi ni watu digital, so we hope that it will reach more people if it is put somewhere like on YouTube and such, so that we can get to learn what you have put together. I think that's all. Thank you very much. And see you guys on the next one. Alex, we look forward to you sharing with us your expertise. Kwaherini kila mtu. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Hannah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Rahim. Thank you, Karakana. Thank you, Alex Gabriel, for coming through. And we have very beautiful ladies who have come in person. I will not show you guys them. I think those ones are for us who are here at Melo Heights.
Can you share this?
So next time, please, we'll come for watch party.
Watch
party at Melo Heights.
Please don't do
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
Kwaherini.